Ladies and gentlemen, when you look at the span of 6 months, it might seem like a short period in the grand scale of your life. But in reality, it can be the most transformative stretch of time you will ever experience. If you start with absolute clarity, the first and most important step in any serious success plan is to define a goal that is crystal clear, sharp in detail, and so specific that your mind cannot mistake it for anything else. Most people live their lives with vague wishes. They say they want to be successful, or earn more money, or be happier. But these words are hazy clouds in the mind. There's nothing for your brain to lock onto. Nothing your subconscious can take as a command. The mind works best when given an exact image, a clear target that it can aim at like an arrow. If you say you want more money, and tomorrow someone hands you 10 rupees, technically, you've achieved your goal. You asked for more and you got more, but not in the way you truly wanted. That's the danger of vagueness. You get something, but not what you deeply desire. Defining a crystal, clear goal means you take the time to sit down and picture exactly what you want as though it is already yours. You must describe it in such detail that you could hand it to another person, and they would be able to imagine it without asking you a single question. If your goal is financial, it is not enough to say, "I want to be rich." How much? By when? Doing what? What does your bank account look like when you log in 6 months from now? What are you wearing the moment you achieve it? Who is with you? If it's about your health, it is not enough to say, "I want to be fit." How do you define fit? What is your weight, your strength level, your daily routine? Are you running a certain distance? Are you lifting a specific weight? What does the mirror show you? This specificity forces your brain to create a picture so sharp it becomes almost tangible, and that picture becomes a magnet. The reason this matters is because the human mind is built to focus on what is clear. If you walk into a fog, you slow down because you cannot see where you're going. If the path ahead is brightly lit and well marked, you walk faster, you feel confident, and you use your full energy to move forward. Your goal is the light on the path. Without it, you wander. With it, you accelerate. When you create a crystal clear goal, you remove the mental fog that keeps most people stuck for years, even decades, without real progress. This clarity works on 2 levels: your conscious mind, which decides the direction, and your subconscious mind, which controls your habits, feelings, and actions. The subconscious doesn't work with generalities. It responds to exact images and repeated instructions. Think of it like the navigation system in a car. If you type in "somewhere nice," the GPS will have no clue where to send you. But if you type in a specific street address, the system instantly starts calculating the route, no matter where you are starting from. That is exactly how your subconscious operates. Give it a detailed address in the form of a clear goal, and it will begin adjusting your thoughts, your behavior, and even your perception to take you there. Suddenly, you notice opportunities you previously ignored. You meet people who can help you. You get ideas you never considered before. This is not magic. It's how your brain filters the infinite information around you to focus only on what aligns with your aim. To define a goal with this level of clarity, you have to stop thinking about what you think you can achieve and start thinking about what you truly want. Most people shrink their desires to fit their current circumstances. They look at their bank account, their skills, their past failures, and decide their goals based on those limits. That is the fastest way to stay stuck where you are. Instead, you must set the goal based on desire, not limitation. If you want to double your income, don't ask, "Can I do it?" Ask, "Do I want it badly enough?" When the goal is born from desire, it has an energy to it that limitation cannot destroy. You must also put this goal in writing. Something happens when you take a thought from your mind and put it onto paper. It moves from the invisible to the visible. It becomes a contract with yourself, and this written goal should not be hidden away in a drawer. It should be somewhere you can see it every single day. Look at it in the morning before you do anything else. Read it before you sleep at night. Let it sink so deeply into your mind that you begin to see yourself living it even when you're doing unrelated things. The clearer and more present your goal is in your daily life, the faster your subconscious begins to treat it as a reality rather than a dream. Another crucial part of defining a crystal clear goal is emotional connection. You can write down the most detailed description in the world, but if it doesn't stir something inside you, it's just words. The goal must excite you, scare you, and pull you forward all at once. If you read it and feel nothing, it is not your real goal. It's just something you think you should want. The right goal will make you feel alive when you imagine it. You'll feel a small surge of energy in your chest, a mental spark that says, yes, this is it. That emotional charge is what powers the entire process. Without it, you're running an engine without fuel. Defining this goal is not a task to rush through. It is the foundation of everything you will do over the next 6 months. If the foundation is weak, the entire structure will collapse. Take hours, if necessary, to think, write, and refine. Ask yourself questions like, what do I want so much that I would be willing to change my habits for it? What would make the next 6 months of my life unforgettable? What would prove to me that I am capable of more than I ever believed? The answers to these questions will strip away the surface level wants and reveal the true aim that will drive you. Once this goal is defined, it begins to work on you in ways you can't even measure yet. It will pull your attention, shape your decisions, and quietly demand that you rise to meet it. The clearer it is, the stronger its pull becomes. And in that pull lies the first step toward transforming not only your next 6 months, but the course of your entire life. Your mind is the command center of your entire life. Every action you take, every decision you make, and every result you produce begins as a thought. The challenge is that most people are not consciously choosing their thoughts. They are letting their mind run on autopilot, replaying the same ideas, the same fears, and the same doubts day after day. These repetitive thoughts form patterns, and those patterns shape your feelings, and your feelings influence your actions. This is why people can get stuck in cycles of procrastination, self-sabotage, or low confidence for years without even realizing it. If you want to create a life that is different from the one you have right now, you have to reprogram your mind daily. Not once a week, not when you feel like it, but every single day with precision and intention. Reprogramming your mind means deliberately replacing negative, limiting thoughts with ideas that empower you, inspire you, and push you toward your goal. You have to think of your mind like fertile soil. If you leave it unattended, weeds will grow, doubts, worries, and insecurities. Those weeds don't need your permission. They grow naturally from past experiences, failures, other people's opinions, and the noise of the world around you. But if you intentionally plant strong, positive seeds in that soil and nurture them, you will grow a completely different mental landscape. And those seeds are your affirmations, your visualizations, your statements of gratitude, and the mental pictures of the life you are building. Affirmations are not just good sentences you say to yourself. They are instructions to your subconscious mind. When you repeat a statement like, I am disciplined and unstoppable, your subconscious begins to treat it as a command rather than a wish. At first it might feel unnatural or even false because your current habits don't reflect it yet, but that's the point. You are programming a new belief. The human mind doesn't know the difference between a real experience and a vividly imagined one. When you repeat these affirmations daily with emotion, you are rehearsing a new identity, and your actions will gradually begin to align with it. Visualization is another powerful tool in reprogramming your mind. This is where you take your clearly defined goal and imagine it as though it is happening right now. You don't just see it, you feel it, you hear the sounds, you notice the details. If your goal is to speak confidently in front of a large audience, you visualize the lights on the stage, the sound of the applause, the feeling of strength in your voice. This repeated mental rehearsal creates new neural pathways in your brain, so when the real moment comes, it feels familiar. You've already been there in your mind, so your confidence rises naturally. Athletes have used this technique for decades to improve performance, but it applies to business, relationships, health, and every other area of life. Gratitude is the third pillar of mental reprogramming, and it is far more than a polite gesture. Gratitude changes your state instantly. You cannot feel fear, anger, or lack while feeling genuine gratitude at the same time. When you make a habit of listing things you are thankful for, both big and small, you train your brain to focus on abundance rather than scarcity. And when your mind is in a state of abundance, you naturally expect and attract better results. Many people wait until they achieve something before they feel grateful, but the true power comes when you feel gratitude in advance, as though your goal is already achieved. This aligns your feelings with your desired outcome and strengthens your belief that it is inevitable. This daily mental reprogramming must be structured, not random. It's not about occasionally reading a positive quote or thinking a nice thought. It's about building a ritual that you follow every day without fail. This could be a 20-minute morning routine where you say your affirmations out loud, visualize your goal in vivid detail, and list 10 things you are grateful for. The morning is powerful because your mind is most impressionable in the first few minutes after waking. If you start the day with intentional thoughts, you are setting the tone for the entire day. Equally important is catching negative thoughts the moment they appear. You cannot stop every negative thought from entering your mind, but you can refuse to entertain it. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," or "this will never work," you must immediately replace it with a stronger, opposite statement. This is like changing the station on a radio. You don't argue with the bad music, you just switch it off and put on something better. Over time, this becomes automatic. Your mind starts rejecting unhelpful thoughts before they even take root. Reprogramming your mind also involves controlling what you feed it. Every conversation you have, every book you read, every piece of content you consume leaves an imprint. If you spend hours listening to negativity, criticism, or fear-based news, your mind will absorb it and replay it in your own self-talk. But if you flood your environment with empowering voices, success stories, and people who believe in growth, your mind adapts to that standard. Just like you wouldn't eat spoiled food and expect to feel healthy, you can't consume mental junk and expect to have a strong, confident mindset. The most important part of reprogramming your mind daily is consistency. You will not erase years of negative conditioning in 1 week, but if you commit to the process every day for 6 months, you will be unrecognizable to yourself. You will start noticing that situations which used to stress you out no longer shake you. You will find yourself taking action on ideas you used to dismiss. You will feel a level of control over your emotions and focus that you may have never experienced before. This transformation is not about forcing yourself to be positive all the time. It's about retraining your mind so that positivity, clarity, and confidence become your natural default instead of doubt and hesitation. There will be days when you wake up full of energy, when the air feels lighter, and the idea of working toward your goal excites you so much that taking action feels effortless. But there will also be days when you don't want to move, when the motivation is gone, when doubts creep in and tell you it's pointless. Most people only act when they feel like it, which is why their results are inconsistent and often disappointing. The truth is, if you are waiting for the perfect mood to take action, you are letting your emotions become the driver of your life instead of the passenger. Discipline is the ability to act regardless of mood. It's doing what needs to be done whether you are inspired or not, tired or not, afraid or not. This is one of the most powerful mental shifts you can make in your success plan. Feelings are temporary and unstable. They rise and fall like waves. One day you feel unstoppable, the next day you feel like giving up, but actions have a compounding effect. Even when you take action without feeling like it, the action itself can begin to change your emotional state. Imagine you don't feel like exercising, but you force yourself to put on your workout clothes and start moving. Within minutes, your energy rises, your mood improves, and suddenly you feel glad you started. Action creates momentum, and momentum fuels motivation. Waiting for motivation to act is like standing at a cold fireplace waiting for it to give you heat before you add wood. It will never happen. You must start the fire first, and the warmth will follow. To live by action rather than emotion, you need to commit to a standard, not a mood. This means deciding in advance what you will do each day and holding yourself to that decision no matter how you feel when the time comes. If your plan is to make 10 sales calls, you make them whether you're excited or drained. If your plan is to write for an hour, you sit down and write whether the words flow easily or feel like pulling teeth. When you set this standard and honor it, you build self-trust. You teach yourself that you can rely on your own word, that you are the kind of person who follows through. This self-trust becomes a powerful source of confidence because you no longer need to hope you'll stay on track. You know you will. One of the biggest traps people fall into is using emotions as a measure of progress. They think, I don't feel like I'm succeeding, so maybe I'm not. But emotions are not an accurate indicator of results in the short term. You can feel frustrated and still be moving forward. You can feel uncertain and still be taking the exact actions that will lead to success. In fact, some of your most important breakthroughs will happen right after a period of discomfort. That's because discomfort often means you are stretching beyond your old habits and beliefs, and growth is rarely comfortable. If you judge your progress only by how good you feel in the moment, you'll quit before the real results arrive. Acting regardless of emotion also trains you to detach from excuses. Excuses often hide behind feelings. I didn't feel creative today. I wasn't in the mood to network. I didn't feel confident enough to make that call. These sound like legitimate reasons, but they are simply emotional justifications for avoiding discomfort. When you make the decision that your actions are non-negotiable, excuses lose their power. You no longer need to feel ready to do something. You just do it because it's part of your plan. And over time, this habit builds resilience. You stop being controlled by fear, hesitation, or laziness because you've proven to yourself that you can act in spite of them. A useful technique for mastering this is the countdown method. The moment you notice hesitation creeping in, count backward from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move instantly. This interrupts the mental loop of overthinking and gives you a physical trigger to shift from thought into action. The more you use it, the more automatic your transitions become. You don't give your mind enough time to talk you out of doing what you know you should do. Another key is to focus on the process rather than the emotion. Instead of telling yourself, I don't feel like writing today, tell yourself, I will open my laptop and write one paragraph. Instead of thinking, I don't feel like exercising, tell yourself, I will put on my shoes and start. These micro-actions bypass the emotional resistance that builds up when you think about the entire task at once. Once you start, it's often easier to keep going than to stop. You turn the act of beginning into a habit, and beginning is often the hardest part. Over time, living by action instead of emotion changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who needs motivation to act and start seeing yourself as someone who gets things done no matter what. This shift is incredibly powerful because it removes one of the biggest barriers to success, the belief that you must always feel inspired to be productive. The truth is, inspiration is the reward for action, not the prerequisite. You learn to generate it rather than wait for it. This approach also gives you an advantage over the majority of people. Most individuals are controlled by their feelings. They let a bad mood ruin their day, a burst of laziness ruin their week, or a single disappointment ruin their entire momentum. But when you operate on a standard of disciplined action, you keep moving forward regardless of these fluctuations. This consistency compounds over time. 6 months of disciplined action will produce more results than years of sporadic effort based on mood. And because you are acting daily, your skills, your confidence, and your opportunities expand at a pace that surprises even you. The most liberating part of this is realizing that you don't need to wait for courage, motivation, or confidence to appear before taking action. Those qualities often emerge as a result of action. You make the call, and then confidence shows up. You take the first step, and then motivation grows. You push through fear, and then courage becomes part of who you are. By separating your actions from your emotions, you free yourself from the endless cycle of waiting to feel ready. Before making a move, when most people set a goal for a period like 6 months, they think of it as one big block of time. They imagine the end result, but they don't break it down into manageable pieces, so they quickly feel overwhelmed or lose focus along the way. The truth is, the human brain thrives on short-term wins. We are wired to respond to immediate feedback, to feel motivated when we see tangible progress. That's why dividing the entire 6 months into smaller, measurable milestones is essential. These milestones, monthly, weekly, and even daily targets, turn a large and intimidating goal into a series of small, winnable games. Every time you hit one of these micro wins, you get a boost of confidence, energy, and momentum that carries you into the next stage. Imagine your 6-month goal is to increase your income by a certain amount. If you look at the full figure every day, it might feel daunting, especially in the early stages when progress is slow. But if you break it into a monthly target, suddenly the challenge feels smaller and more achievable. Then you break that monthly target into weekly goals. Now you have something you can measure and act on immediately. This same principle applies to any goal: fitness, business, skill, building, or personal growth. The large vision gives you direction, but the smaller targets give you traction. Without traction, even the clearest vision becomes nothing more than a dream. When you set these smaller goals, you create a roadmap. Instead of wandering toward your objective and hoping you arrive, you have a clear path to follow. This roadmap does something else that is incredibly important. It helps you spot when you are falling behind early enough to make corrections. If you only measure progress every few months, you might not realize you're off track until it's too late to recover. But if you measure weekly, you catch problems while they're still small, and you can adjust your strategy without losing much time. This constant feedback loop keeps you engaged and in control of the process. Another reason breaking time into micro wins works so well is because of how the brain rewards achievement. Every time you complete a small target, your brain releases dopamine, a chemical that makes you feel good and motivated. This is the same chemical that gets triggered when you check something off a to-do list. Your brain loves completion. By creating more opportunities for completion through smaller goals, you keep your motivation high for the entire 6 months instead of relying on a single reward at the end. These micro wins also protect you from the mental fatigue that comes from working toward a distant outcome. A 6-month goal can feel so far away that the mind starts to question whether the effort is worth it. But when you can say, "I hit my goal for the week," or "I've improved since last Monday," you have proof that you're making progress now, not someday. That proof builds belief, and belief fuels persistence. Without belief, even the best plan will collapse under the weight of doubt. Daily targets are the most powerful level of this system because they remove the guesswork from your routine. If you know exactly what you need to do today, you can direct your energy into action instead of wasting time deciding what to work on. The daily goal should be small enough that you can complete it even on a busy or challenging day, but meaningful enough that it moves you closer to your weekly target. Over time, these small daily wins compound into massive results. This is the same principle that allows people to master a skill, build a business, or transform their health. It's not about one giant leap, but thousands of small, consistent steps. One of the hidden benefits of this approach is how it changes your relationship with time. Instead of feeling like you have plenty of time and procrastinating, you feel a sense of urgency and focus. If you know you only have 7 days to hit your next target, you are far less likely to waste 3 of them doing nothing. This short-term urgency keeps you sharp and engaged. It's the same reason deadlines, while sometimes stressful, are incredibly effective. They force you to prioritize what matters and cut out distractions. It's also important to celebrate these wins, even the small ones. This doesn't mean throwing a party for every completed task, but it does mean taking a moment to acknowledge your progress. It might be as simple as pausing at the end of the week to reflect on what you've accomplished, or rewarding yourself in a way that feels meaningful. Celebration reinforces the habit of winning. When you reward yourself for progress, your brain links the effort with a positive outcome, making it more likely you'll keep going. Of course, breaking a goal into smaller pieces is not just about convenience, it's about building momentum. Momentum is one of the most valuable assets in achieving anything. Once you start moving forward and stacking up wins, it becomes easier to keep going. Your mind shifts from thinking, "This is too hard," to "I'm already doing it." And once you see proof that you can consistently hit your smaller targets, the big goal stops feeling intimidating. You start to believe not only that it's possible, but that it's inevitable. This structure also creates resilience. There will be weeks when things don't go perfectly, when life interrupts your plan or your results fall short. But because you're measuring frequently, you can recover quickly. Missing a single daily or weekly target won't destroy the entire 6-month plan as long as you get back on track. This flexibility keeps you from falling into the all or nothing trap where one bad week turns into quitting altogether. Breaking the 6 months into micro wins transforms the journey from a long, exhausting climb into a series of short, energizing sprints. Each target reached gives you strength for the next. Each win builds a track record you can look back on whenever doubt creeps in. And with every step, you move closer to the vision you set out to achieve, not by chasing it all at once, but by conquering it piece by piece.